Yes, we're here. We're live. People are going
I
to
feel left
hopefully...
out. No.
What? You're part of it.
Threesome joke. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry and I are paying too much attention to each other, leaving you
Um,
left out.
and we're in all different cities. So as people join, I'll just introduce ourselves. So, I'm Jerry. I'm in New York. I'm in Harlem at my home in Harlem, West Harlem. Michael, who's a co-editor of Queer Love Project. You were out in LA.
I am near West Hollywood, and I work at Book Soup in West Hollywood. For those who want to stop by later today, I'll be there.
Oh, you're going to have to go to work after this. I
I'm
forgot.
going to work
Yes.
right after this. It's probably the busiest day of the retail
Yep.
year for a bookstore, at least. Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, it's the sun. I mean, Christmas comes on a Thursday this year. So
Yeah.
I feel like the Sunday, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like everyone's going to shop.
Do you have to
then,
work right up to the bitter end?
Yeah, Michael, would you have to work on Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Now your connection's unstable. Then we have Amelia
We're all a
Pizanza.
little unstable today.
Amelia's joining us from Pittsburgh.
Home of the Andy Warhol Museum, if we're thinking of
It's a great
queer
museum.
connections in all of the places that we are. And
So,
I'm a writer and a book publicist. And I don't have to work today, which I feel grateful for.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with Lavender PR? Because, you've put me in touch with a lot of amazing people. Can you just tell us a little?
Yeah. Me and two other women we run a small literary PR agency called Lavender Public Relations. And we try as much as we can to predominantly work with queer authors, feminist authors, and people at all stages of their career, which is really fun. This year, for the first time, we have given a pro bono campaign to a queer author making a literary debut with a small press, which is really fun and exciting.
Can you say who that is?
Sophie Muitara. Wow, I've got to work on my pronunciation. We haven't had this conversation. I'm looking to see if I can get a pronunciation guide online, but the best way I would say Sophie Mutiara Nova.
Sounds right. Great. So she has a book coming out in 2026?
Yeah, their book, the premise is amazing, which is that a depressed college student tries to call the suicide hotline and instead dials 666, which is the mark of the devil, and meets a mysterious voice on the other end, who's a smooth talker and may or may not be the devil.
Oh, hopefully there's going to be an audiobook component, because that sounds like it'd be great in audio.
Yeah. I have not listened to a single audiobook this year. Oh, no, that's a lie. That's a total lie. I listened to the two actresses from The L Word, wrote a book this year. So gay for you. I love that you're both nodding and you're like, yes.
My boss would listen to that in the office. I was overhearing some of it. It was, quite a journey, it sounded like.
Well, not to sound like a book that I had to listen to in audio. I was like, yes, I would love Kate and Leisha to be inside my ears talking to me as I'm making dinner, gossiping about what it was like on the set of that show.
And it was also really about their friendship and like how that bond is so important to them.
And sort of hitting all the beats of almost a romance novel. Like they have this is our meet cute, here's our little bit of conflict. Here's us coming back together. So I found that incredibly sweet.
Well, I'm excited to have both of you here because we're all nerdy literary book people in different ways. Although Michael feels like he's not as engaged, even though that's his job. He actually works at a bookstore where lots of things happen. And I know you have like Lavelle Holder coming up for an event, which I just reviewed that for Audible. So unlike you, Amelia, I work at Audible. So I have listened to about 60 audiobooks this year. And maybe read 5 print books. So
Whoa.
audio takes over my life.
Is that different for you?
It took me a while. I used to be a little ambivalent about it, but since the pandemic, have become obsessed with audiobooks. I especially like it for nonfiction and like biographies and memoirs. just because especially I like having the author's voice in my ear, like you said, like with Kate. And um, so I also do it on the train. I do it while I'm walking. I do it while I'm wasting time with games on my phone. So I get a lot more reading done, and so that's been good.
And you mentioned that
But
you read nonfiction. I mean, you listen to nonfiction more, right?
uh,
Which I hear a lot of my customers say the exact same thing. Like, oh, I'll buy the novel and I'll listen to the memoir or whatever.
well, with fiction, it just takes me a little while to get into it, especially if the narrator's great. Like right now I'm listening to an Ed Park book, and at first I was like, I don't know how much I can do this because it needs to be read. But then I got into the narrator, so I'm really enjoying it. But what I really wanted, and actually, I will say one of my favorite books. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some of our favorite things from the year, but also especially, Amelia, you had the great idea of talking about things that we did think deserve more love, and didn't get all the attention that they had. So I'll let you go first.
Me?
What did you love reading from this year slash what did you feel like people need to know more about?
I'm going to try and limit myself to things that actually came out this year. Because I
Yes.
think if I was like things I read this year that didn't come out this year, that would make it a very long list. Because I do love trying to read things that came
I
out many years
I'm
ago.
still catching up on older things as well.
Yeah. But the 2 that I read this year that I wish I had with me, but I did not lug them to my parents' house in Pittsburgh. One of them is the original by Nell Stevens, which actually I heard recently from the critic Alana Masad that the audiobook is also fantastic. I did not listen
Hmm.
to it on audio, but I've heard that it's really great. And it's a story like set around the turn of the century from the 19th to the 20th century. This young woman, her parents are in an insane asylum, so she goes to like live with her extended family, and she wants to be a painter, but she has facial blindness, so she only can copy other people's paintings. So she's like, okay, I will do art forgery and earn a living and get the
Oh
hell out of
wow.
here. And she then, like, her cousin who was lost at sea mysteriously turns up again, and the big question of the novel is her cousin really her cousin, or is he just pretending to be
Hmm.
to try and inherit some of the family fortune? And I thought the author did an amazing job. Like, I never settled on one side of that question or the other. Or like I would think I had it figured out and I didn't. Um, but also it doesn't really say this anywhere in the description of the book, but it's so gay. Like
Yeah.
ev- I just felt like everyone in the book was gay, and there was an amazing scene where the young painter just like ends up in this apartment building full of like men kissing, and it slowly dawns on her she loves being there. Then she realizes, or then she starts to feel like she's intruding, and she's like, maybe I should leave. But it's just, yeah, I loved that aspect of it.
That's funny.
So
I was at Julius last night, the gay bar in the West Village, and the straight couple walked in, I think thinking, "Oh, this is like a West Village dive bar." And then they were only there for a few minutes and they looked around and realized, "Oh, it's really gay in here."
it's yeah, it's not for us.
Creeps up on you.
Well, that I was telling you earlier about the like sort of classic Pittsburgh gay bar, Hemingway's, and I think it's
Hmm.
kind of like our version of Julius.
Yeah.
When I there was like another art book that I won't name that I think was really big this year. So
What do you
I would
mean?
encourage. And there was another book though I think was also about like a queer artist, a novel. I will not name it, but I would recommend this one instead.
Oh, okay. I like
Not to start anything.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
the other book that I loved is so much sadder, so I recommend it with a grain of salt. I'm like, if you're gonna read it, bring a box of tissues, make sure you're
Okay.
near a loved one. And it's Ariel Gore's memoir about losing her wife to breast cancer. It's called
Oh.
Rehearsals for Dying. I mean, I love the title because I think it's already letting you know what you're in for. But I think she's done an incredible job of like taking her own story of losing her wife to breast cancer and sort of like tying it to a bunch of things about breast cancer that I never knew and about women's health. And the way that she's arranged it is kind of amazing because all of the chapters are really short, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes I'm crying and sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm learning new facts that I should write down, but yet it still all feels like the same book and not like a bunch of different books smashed together. I mean, and there's just a lot about how kind of corrupt like the breast cancer treatment
Right.
industry, for lack of a better word, is, and
Yeah.
how, they would get information from doctors and then, she'd go home with her wife and they would do a ton of online research to figure out like, okay, is what we're being told actually true? And in my mind, I don't know if Ariel Gore, who I do not know, meant it this way, but the title Rehearsals for Dying, like the book is so much an exploration of there's so much focus on treatment
Mm-hmm.
in cancer that there's never a focus on like what is your quality of life and like how do you want to die? Like I think she
Yeah.
just felt like no medical institution would even bring up that question, and they would research some of these drugs and be like, well, this drug might extend your life 3 months.
Right.
Do you really want that, and at what cost? So very sad, very moving. There's a great joke in there about how like is heaven Jewish summer camp in the Catskill. Which I kind of
Well,
love as
you
something to
there's an
imagine.
there's another big memoir that came out this year that does get into similar themes. And I will mention the author's name, Liz Gilbert, and her book
Yeah.
deals with that idea of dying as well. I mean, and how Rhea how she doesn't want to have to go through the treatment, and apparently members of her family are still angry at Liz Gilbert about that. And anyway, I have to say, I had avoided all of Elizabeth Gilbert's books up until that point, but for work, I listened to it and I was so enamored with so much of it. And then just 3 days ago, I binged all of Big Magic, her book from like, I don't know, 20 whatever. And now I'm recommending to everyone because I loved that book and it got me so excited. So anyway,
You came
um,
into her career at a controversial time.
I really did. I did. I avoided her. I have a theory. I avoid big books that everyone's talking about when they're popular because I know from my Gen X perspective, I'll hate them just because they're so popular. So like I didn't read Eat, Pray, Love when it was big. I didn't read um Joan Didion's Year of Magical Thinking when it was huge. All of I'd avoid them and then I read them like 10 years later.
I don't know
So
if that's
it's
a
That's
Gen
what I
X
do with
thing because I do the
TV.
same. I don't know. I always avoid a big book, but again, like you, I read a very, very extremely popular book this year. It didn't come out this year, but it was like I Who Have Never Known Men from the unearthed treasured gem from the 90s, I guess. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. This is huge on Book Talk or whatever.
right.
And then it was like the best book I read all year and probably, yeah, one of my favorite books
Say
ever.
the title again for people so that they know what it is.
Oh, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. But that's not
Uh,
my subject matter for today.
no, I understand.
It's
And
only a
it's not.
little bit queer, hardly any. So it doesn't apply, and it didn't come
Well,
out this
well,
year.
what was your big surprise book or thing that you love that you don't feel like enough people know
So
about?
my book that did not get enough love this year, I'm assuming. It's hard to tell. But and I have a visual aid is although it's backwards, I guess, on the camera, but
No, no, it's
The
fine. It's
Lonely
fine.
Veteran's Guide to Companionship by Bronson Lamar. Um and it's a memoir and essays, and I'm really bad. I'm not Amelia. I don't work in PR, so I can't describe the log line and all these things. Um, but that's kind of why I like it. It's not so defined. Like I tend to like books that are a little less easy to explain and describe.
Hmm.
But the title does say it all: The Lonely Veteran's Guide to Companionship. And it is very much like a guide, like in the sense that the author, even though they're just essays and they're stories that link together to tell of a period of his life or certain themes of loneliness and love, uh, it's not really a guide, but the tone is very guide-like because the author is just super authoritative, super like congenial, whatever the word is, super friendly, super affable. You just feel taken care of the whole time while reading, and I just tend to gravitate toward books like that and voices like that, where you are just talking or just reading about someone really smart, and they just kind of can guide you through their weird situations in life. And it'll be like the first essay was probably my favorite. It's called Gumshoe, and it's just him as a kid, like being obsessed with Carmen Sandiego and like mysteries and solving mysteries. And then he tries to solve the mystery of like his deceased older sister who died at like childbirth, basically,
Hmm.
that he never met and came before him, but the parents never would talk about her. So he's just sort of going through this scenario of, oh, I want to find out more. And then he sort of doesn't get what he wants, but he gets what he needs. So yeah, you're just dealing with a voice that's very, what would be the word? I feel like he's just a good, travel companion. He's looking for a companion, but he kind of becomes your companion in the end. So, and it is about queerness, and he joins the military, and I think he does have another memoir
Yeah.
before this one that came out many years ago. But I didn't feel like I needed necessarily, like, I'm interested to read it, but I didn't need to read it to
Right.
understand this, which sort of more just dips in and out of that
And
period of
his
his
other
life.
memoir is much more about his military experience, I believe.
Yeah, the previous one's about like I was a gay man in the military, and then from what I
Is
can
it
tell,
boot?
and then this one is just sort of
No,
like
it's not the Pink
story,
Marine.
not Pink Marine. Although,
I
you
didn't
know,
watch. Did either of you watch?
I didn't watch it.
So I am not a fan of Boots, and I'm not upset that it got canceled and is not going to have another season because I felt like it was bad. And all that was good about it
The
was the hotness.
quality?
No, it
Yeah.
was just how hot that one guy was. But but if you want hotness, just watch Heated Rivalry because it's better.
That was my next question. I haven't watched it because I'm staying with my parents, and it doesn't feel like the right thing to watch with them.
It is definitely PG-13 material, so I think they could handle it, but there is definitely a lot of booty and a lot of blowjobs. And
Yeah,
it's
I
written
don't know that that's for them.
it's written by a woman. There's a lot of male romance. I'm working on a piece with a writer that we're gonna have up before the end of the year, hopefully, about Pat Sebastian and male romance and why it's so huge and why women write it and why queer women really like reading it. And that's what's interesting to me. Amelia,
Well,
if you
my
have any
understanding
insight.
is that yeah, well, I was gonna say my understanding too is that a lot of the women that are writing it are queer as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so I find
Yeah,
that
which is
interesting. I mean, there's also the whole subculture of lesbians who like gay porn, so that's a whole thing as well.
I loved that scene in The Kids Are All Right.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
That's where I learned about it first. So I was like, oh. Mm.
It's not just
But
lesbians. I mean, straight women watch gay porn. I mean, that's the
yeah,
whole.
that's true too.
Yeah.
And I know some
That's
gay
true.
men who watch straight porn.
Oh, that's me.
That's Michael.
I
I
know
don't
a
really
gay man
watch
who's
gay
not
porn. Yeah,
Michael.
I don't know. It's a different thing.
It's like what you want in
um,
reality is maybe
Yeah,
different
it
from
doesn't
what you
always match
want in
up.
fantasy. Yeah. But I
um,
didn't
so
buy. Oh,
what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I think that I need to learn more about romance as a genre because I think there are people doing incredible writing, not just about individual books, but it's like, why do we like it? Why is this so popular? Why is this like the most lucrative
Yeah.
part of the publishing world? What does it mean about us? So yeah,
Well,
so much
I will
interesting
say
stuff is
that that's true. I mean, I think have you watched Pluribus?
Um,
no.
So Carol, who's played by Ray Seahorn, she is a lesbian who writes romantasy. And it's kind of fascinating that you have a romantasy author at the center of a TV show at the moment because that is the genre.
Did anyone read a romantasy book this year?
No, I can't do it.
I'm kind of reading an older romantasy book called The Innkeeper's Song by Peter S. Beagle. And it involves I don't know if it's romantasy, but it definitely involves a lot of
Does it have
sex
dragons?
and romance and
But does it have
fantasy.
dragons?
So I guess.
That's romantasy.
But it doesn't like fit
Well,
the romance theme. Like I don't know if it's like it's not a central relationship or anything like that. It's not like someone you're rooting for or shipping. as the
Right,
kids
right.
say, or as the old people say, because that's from my
Yeah,
generation.
I've not read Onyx Storm. I don't know if I ever could, but it's definitely the biggest one of the biggest books of the year. Um, so we all saw each other back in March in LA for AWP, and I know that Michael bought a lot of books. I bought a lot of books. I don't know if Amelia bought a lot of books. I haven't read them all, but one that is on that I do think people should know about, and we actually published a piece by this author, Jackie Dominis. Can I see, how do I get it in the thing? And
I see the
their
author name.
and their collection, which is a memoir and essays called No Offense, which came out from a small press as well. And it actually did make a couple lists, but I still think it didn't get enough love because memoirs and essays on small presses need more love, right? And so that's one that I think people should do. I also have things that I need to read. So I don't know if you guys know this book. Um, So Many Stars. Do you know this book?
Oh,
An oral
someone on this
history.
call maybe was the publicist on this book.
Yeah. So it's actually on my list. I still haven't. It's on my PBR. I have not read it yet, but I am going to. So I feel like that book needed more attention. Don't you think? It got some
Especially
attention.
because it's so timely. And, I feel like so many people are trying to spread this message that um, trans people are a sudden fad. And this is a series of conversations with trans elders of color
Yeah.
who are like, no, we have always been here, and different cultures have different names. And also, I mean, some of the, like, I think 20 people interviewed in that book have really devastating stories, but some of them have really hopeful ones where there was, one family member who was super accepting and supportive, or, in everyone, it seems like there's someone who comes along. I think one person was really involved in the drag scene, I want to say in Argentina,
hmm
at a really repressive time in the country. So there's just a lot of hope to be found for me
So we
in
should
that
actually
book.
say the title. I guess I realized So Many Stars, and it's Caro de Robertis. Is that how I say it correctly?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And that's a
yeah,
really great audiobook.
that's what the thing is. I do know that. I've heard that the audiobook is great, so I plan to actually listen as well because if we have original interviews, that's always special. Um, so there's that.
Liz, do you
Can I
know when
say
the
one book that
paperback
did
is
get a lot
coming
of attention?
out?
Oh, say it
Oh,
again,
sorry.
Michael.
I was going to say, because that's a hardcover that came out maybe a while ago, so maybe the paperback will be out soon for people to like rediscover it or discover it.
Amelia would know about the paperback. I do not know.
It'll probably come out in May.
Right. Um, which actually, just because you mentioned May, our mutual friend Hugh Ryan has a memoir coming out in May, his first memoir. And so I'm going to try to get him to do an interview with the Queer Love Project / write something for us. But that's actually how Amelia and I first met. We met at Hugh's Christmas party a couple years ago. So
Which I
go
think
to
was monster themed,
that
if
was
I
a
remember
monster themed
correctly.
Christmas party. And this year's Christmas party has been postponed to February. So I guess we'll see each other hopefully in February. um, but if I could tell you a book that I love that I actually took me a while to get into, but then when I listened to the audiobook, again, audiobook, um, but did get attention. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. So
Yeah,
I
that's
just want to talk
allowed.
about
That's
it.
still allowed.
Is Stag Dance by Torrey Peters. This is my advanced reader copy. Um, and
Fancy.
I was struggling at first to get into it. It's a collection of, well, it's a novella and then some short stories. Um, the audiobook is so good, but also this book is so devastating. There's a story in here that is so devastating. Like I think about it constantly. I still think about it. And you know how like we read so much or we consume so much, sometimes you don't. This like it's a lot. So trigger warning, if you can't deal with violence to animals, don't read it. but it is each of these stories is so distinct, so weird, so devastating in their own distinct ways. And I'm like, it actually, do you guys know the collection of short stories, History of Sound? It got
Yeah.
made into a movie. It made me hate that book even more because Tori does such a fucking fantastic job writing all of these in different voices and different time periods and everything. And I read that book. I'm just going to take the piss out of him for a minute, just because he is a straight guy and he has lots of famous friends, so I can do that. And he's married to a famous woman.
I was
But
gonna say, isn't he married to Jenny Slate?
yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I was just like, all of the characters in his short stories are flat and they're like the same. And then, they make this gorgeous movie with Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor because they're both in everything and they both love playing gay. And I actually have a piece that I've already written about that movie, but I haven't edited it yet, but I want to publish it at some point because I have a lot of thoughts, just to say that. But why are straight men writing our gay stories also? I'm like, yes. Anyway, that's
Well,
my little
it's
rant.
interesting
there
that
was a trend of like historical, like chaste queer fiction in some sense. Maybe not quite this year or maybe last year. I definitely came across a few that were just like, okay, and I get it, it's historical, so maybe you're sort of hewn to that time period. You're trying to be like what the image is for the history.
Well, to me, it was like this generation's Brokeback Mountain, which also is a short story written by straight people. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, now we have this one. So
yeah.
Great. Anyway, that's my rant, Amelia. Sorry about that.
Well, I mean, your rant made me think of a slightly related rant, which is I was interested to see people's reactions to Stag Dance because just from my observations, it felt like people were so excited to like embrace Detransition Baby, and they felt like it was the story that a lot of readers expected from a trans woman. And then I think with Stag Dance, I didn't see all of those same people gather around it because it's like not what was expected. And that's like very exciting to me as a reader. But I guess my cheesy hope is that like as queer people write the stories that aren't expected of them,
exactly,
they continue to be embraced with this excitement that I feel like sort of the first wave of books were embraced with.
Yeah,
there's two books coming out next year from trans writers that I feel like kind of fit the mold of like people whose first books were kind of, books that everyone could easily get on board with, and now they're trying more experimental things. One of them is Jordy Rosenberg's Night Night Fawn. It's like a novel, I think, voiced entirely from a dying woman with a trans son. So, it's sort of like this like Yenta monologue. And there was the excerpt of it in the Paris Review, and it was just, and Jordy reads it, speaking of audio, and it's like laugh out loud funny. And it makes me want to read the whole book. And then the other book is Chris Malcolm Belk, who wrote the memoir, The Natural Mother of the Child, about like sort of second parent adoption in queer families.
Mm-hmm.
He has a new memoir. I feel like it's called like What's for Dinner? What Are We Having for Dinner? What I'm Making for Dinner, just about like cooking for his like really big, I think he has 4 kids, and just like a lot of his life is kind of doing this typically maternal household care work and using YouTube to do it, watching cooking tutorials. So I'm really excited about both of those books because like what you were saying, Mike, I'm like, they seem really weird. I don't have like a good publicist pitch for them because they're doing a lot of different things in one. But to me, that's what life is like. Life is a lot of things happening at once.
And speaking of unpitchable, I do have one more recommendation from the year, which is, and it's been going on a while, it's a comic book, Jerry, if that's okay. But we got Snot Girl.
I love the title. I'm obsessed.
I don't know if you're, Amelia, aware of this sapphic gem or what has become a sapphic gem, at least this year. I guess the comic's been going on, like that's up to its 4th volume, but this is definitely the one this year is the queerest one because finally all the sapphic subtext became like the text. Like it became like this.
It emerged.
It became this. So like, yeah, this is by Brian Lee O'Malley, who did Scott Pilgrim. If you know that one from the few years ago.
Made into
someone will probably type. It was actually 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm old. So yeah, this is Snot Girl, and basically it's very hard to describe. It's about an influencer type, like her, who has allergies. She's a fashion blogger with allergies. That's like the simplest way to describe it, but it's like the most complicated. Like you don't know what's happening. This volume that just came out, that's the more lesbian one, is called Make It Make Sense, because like yeah, it's just sort of like it doesn't make sense half the time, and you're just sort of like, okay, what's going on here? But that's what I love about it. It's sort of like, what's going on here? The characters are trying to figure out like all the weird shit they're going through. Um, they're sort of like making a million jokes about how nothing makes sense, and you know, nothing does make sense in life and in the world, especially now. And to get my little hot button topical aspect in. But yeah, it's just a fun ride. And if you know Scott Pilgrim, you know Brian Lee O'Malley does like great casts of characters, and even like little side characters are hilarious and just easy to make fun of in a way. Like they all have weird code names. Like there's Cute Girl and Norm Girl, and you know who's too normal, who's being cool now, who's being cool then. Like it's very Gen Z, like older Gen Z, young millennial, just happiness. So with lots of, and there was like lots of good coming out scenes actually, which surprised me, and just sexiness. So
What
that's
is?
my
I
snot
want to
girl
know what
pitch.
Amelia thinks about the idea of sapphic, because I know some women don't like that term
Is
because it's been
sapphic bad?
appropriate. Well, that's what I want to hear Amelia say, because I've heard some people say that they don't like that that's become like a marketing term in book publishing.
I think it's really great that people have found a word that's like people who love women but might not be women or might not be lesbians. You know, like you could be a bisexual in a sapphic relationship. You can be a
Okay,
non-binary person in a sapphic relationship. And I also love that it kind of goes all the way back. We're like, let's just keep honoring Sappho forever and
exactly.
always.
He's the
I
blueprint.
recently had someone ask me who Sappho was, and I was
Oh,
delighted to be consulted on such a topic, especially when I'm sure ChatGPT could provide some sort of response. I've never tried
and you're
that
like,
as a
oh, my
prompt.
my queer theory comes into and my gender studies, whatever.
Let me pull it out at a party. Yeah. So I feel excited about it. I also just
Um,
wonder, I'm like, what's going to be the word in 20 years?
exactly. It'll still be sapphic.
It
I
works,
I
bro.
doubt
If
that.
it's if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Before I ask Michael about things that he's excited about, I'm also going to talk about two memoirs that are coming out in a couple months, because I've been working with the authors. So we actually published an excerpt from Michael Lowenthal's memoir called Place Envy, which I can't
Oh,
really
I
figure
love
out how
the
to show it on the
jacket.
screen. It's nice, right? Place Envy. And that I'm going to be interviewing him at some point as well, but we do have an excerpt on the site already. But I also really love this book. It's actually from the same Ohio State Press. It's called Men I Hate, and it's by Lynette D'Amico. And there's some just excellent writing in that. And I actually asked for an excerpt from it. Unfortunately, I did get water on this advanced reader's copy, so that's why it's all bulgy. Um, but uh,
Are you
but I
saying your advanced reader copy has a bulge? Is that what I'm
It has a
hearing?
bump because I was reading it in bed, and I then put it on the floor, and then I dropped my night water, my glass of water on it. Anyway,
This was
so
the year I learned about the subreddit NFL bulges and then introduced a lot of gay men to the subreddit NFL
you just
bulges,
introduced me. I didn't know about this.
which is exactly what you think it is.
Wait,
And they
what
had a
was it?
lot to say about
Bulges?
Taylor.
Yeah, she's talking
NFL
about guys'
bulges.
crotches.
Oh,
She's talking
okay.
about the bulge. Look at you. Well, I
I
just look at that on
learned
Instagram. I didn't know there was a Reddit.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
when they had a lot to say about the Taylor Swift album because they had a lot of images on hand of Travis Kelce's bulge and
Yeah.
measured that against her song lyrics and found it wanting.
Oh, you Swifties.
Yeah,
Um,
I might be hopping off that bandwagon, but that's a conversation for another time.
I will
Looking
not
for the
go in that.
exit.
Yeah, I will not even tell you my thoughts. But So I am curious. I mean, we're all going to see each other hopefully sooner than this, but we are going to also plan to see each other in Baltimore for AWP. And are you going to be on a panel again, Amelia, or what are you doing? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm going to be on a panel about queer publishing, which features an agent, an editor, sort of like people in all publishing roles,
Hmm.
to not directly say, here's what you can do about book bans or anything actionable like that,
Hmm.
but more talking about like what is the state of queer publishing in the face of
Oh,
a
nice.
lot of challenges across the board. I think that's on Friday afternoon. And then on Saturday, I'm working with Samantha Page Rosen, a queer writer, and Gabby Iori, who's a book publicist, to host an evening of cat readings where the
Oh,
entire prompt is just to have different writers read about cats. So, like Lily Danziger will be there, Kristen Arnett will be there, Chris Malcolm Belk, who I was just talking about, will be there. So it's just going to be silly. And you all inspired me. Maybe we're even going to make a zine, a
oh, nice.
cat zine, because cats seem really well suited to zines.
They really do. And people want analog.
Yeah. I know. I was just at like a book fair in Red Hook last weekend, and people were selling cassette tapes. There was
Yeah.
like a whole aisle of people selling original cassette tapes. And I was like, whoa.
But does anybody have a Walkman or something to play them on? That's the problem.
Not me. I don't. My parents might somewhere in this house.
Yeah, my parents still have their stereo that has all that. I know that I'm still trying to do a reading during the AWP time, but it's been hard to book a spot. So we'll let you know if that happens. But we are actually going to be in May. This is much more in the future. We are going to do another reading with Miss Manhattan. So on May 4th, we're going to have a Queer Love Project reading in New York, if anybody's in New York. But the other big news I wanted to toss over to is that we've been talking for a while about Michael and his memoir, and you have big
I don't know
news
if
that
I'm
you just
pointing
announced.
to
You're
him
actually
or
pointing the
pointing off
opposite way.
screen.
Yeah.
So if I do this, to me, it looks like
Yes,
the
that's
opposite way,
correct.
but to you, it looks the
Yeah,
right way. Okay, great.
correct. So, Michael, do you want to tell people what's going on with you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I made the announcement on Instagram, but it was my memoir has been acquired by the same press actually as The Lonely Veteran's Guide, which I was talking
Woo!
about. So that's kind of how I came across it. But yeah, it's University of Wisconsin Press, and my book Macaroni Heart, working title, will be out February, March 2027. So speaking of
Yay!
AWP, we'll hopefully, have that ready for then. Because March maybe it will coincide, but this year we'll just sort of focus on, you know, getting it done. But yeah, I'm excited, and it's
Do you have a
been
lot
a
to work
long journey. So
and do you
yeah,
have more work to do on it?
more work with more of a journey to go. I don't have too much more work to do on the book, but it takes a year, I guess, for it to cycle through the production. So it's due, my draft is due in March 1st, and then I'll fly off to Baltimore to be with you guys. And then, the promotional journey will begin, which I'm
Well,
sure
Amelia's been
Amelia
through
could
this.
speak
You
to.
you've done a book. Do you have any advice for him to deal with the stress and anxiety until the book comes out?
I don't know if this is good advice on the publisher side, but I'm going to stand by it as an author, which is like, I decided I was like, I'm going to be fussy about three things. Like, I was sort of like, I get three
Mm,
fuss cards to spend.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great way to put everything in perspective because I was like, well, if I only get three fuss cards, is this thing really worth a fuss? Um, and I also felt like my request would be taken more seriously if I only did it three times.
So, what were the
And
three?
what were my three fuss cards? Well, I think the biggest, eh, as a crazy person, some of the biggest fusses that I made were about the production and like the way the book looked on the page because there were parts of it that were lists or like long excerpts from newspaper headlines back when newspaper headlines had like a headline, a subheadline, and a sub-subheadline. So I was like, yeah, I am going to fuss about how the interior of the book looks. And luckily, the people on the production team were like, yes, we've been they were excited to engage about that stuff because that's what they spend all day thinking about. So I think that was my biggest fuss. And I won't
And
mention the other two. The other two will remain private to me.
Was one about the cover? Because I always tell people they really should fight for their cover.
I was so lucky. I was shown 2 covers originally, and one of them I just fell in love with, and I was like, "That's the cover." And that was actually a moment when people said, like, "Don't you wanna fuss more?" And I was like, "No, I wanna save my fuss cards."
I love it.
I found the fuss cards a really useful way to think about the process and, like, try and put things in perspective for myself.
That's smart. Well, I saw that one of the people that has joined us is Julie Snyder, who has her debut coming out next year. So if there are people that are like trying to figure out how to get their book in people's hands, Amelia, do you have any advice for them other than just hire you?
Actually, I feel like I'm the worst business lady because sometimes my advice is not, don't hire me. Sometimes people want to hire me and they get on a phone call with me and I'm like, I want to talk to you, but I don't think that you want to do that. I mean, a lot of my advice, honestly, is about, where to put your energy. You've got a finite amount of energy as an author who also has a creative practice. You don't have to suddenly become a marketer, and I think people are like, oh, do I need to get on Substack? Do I need to get on TikTok? And I'm often like, no, if there are other things that take up time in your life, please do those things. And it can often be more beneficial to like do what feels organic. Like if you love chatting to people in real life, like go talk to the booksellers and the bookstores where you live, unless it's like, New York City. I think they're tired of that. But if you live in like Cleveland, Ohio, like go visit your bookstores, go to the book events of other authors. Like I think it's much more about building a network, and there is no one way to do that. I think when people say, should I get on Substack, what they mean is like, will the people come to me? And, you should find the people in the way that makes sense to you rather than try
I
to fit
shouldn't
the
do
mold.
A dance right now to go viral.
If you feel so moved, I feel like it's like Quakerism. If you feel moved to do a dance to go viral, please do.
I think one of the best terms, and I know you're going to think that I should have known this a long time ago, but one of the things I learned from you both is this idea of being a good literary citizen. And I think what you just said about going to other people's events, and I've really enjoyed that. So like, you put me in touch with Samantha for Dyke Delusions, and then I went to her book event, and I was like the only male identified person in the room, I think, except maybe her dad. And but it was great because I was like, oh, this is
I've
getting
seen
me
you
out.
at a lot of book events.
Yeah, I've been going to a lot of book
this
events,
year.
and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I love it. I like getting out of the house. It reminded me I need to be out at all these things, and the other way of being a good literary citizen is buying people's books, which I know Michael also believes in. And
there's an agent who I really adore who has a Substack called, I think, Just Reading All Day, Danielle Bukowski. And she just like really breaks down some of the business stuff that seems murky and nebulous. And she's like, no, it's not murky or nebulous. It's just information. And here it is. But one of the things she says is like, if you, for instance, want to write, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a, memoir, I think is such a good example. If you want to write a memoir and sell your memoir and you've never purchased or bought or like sat down to read a memoir, how are you going to do that? And
exactly.
And I think that was actually like one of the more controversial things that she posted. And I was, how is that controversial? If you don't know the genre, if you don't enjoy the genre, who do you think your audience is?
It's true. It's actually the same way in magazines and publishing in general media. I'm always like, if you don't read the publication, like, why do you want to write for it? Like, what's the point? But well, I am the odd man out in this threesome at the moment because Amelia's published a book. Michael now has got a contract, and that's my goal for 2026 is to get my book into somebody's hands that says they're going to publish it, because I have like 3 books. I have the novel, I have a memoir, I have other things. So it's going to happen. That's what 2026 is going to be all about. For me, at least.
I love that.
We believe.
What is there anything else that, I mean, I'm very optimistic, and I know that Amelia always is annoyed with my optimism, but I'm very optimistic about everything. What are you guys looking forward to other than the books we talked about? Is there anything else you're looking forward to in 2026?
I might learn how to drive again.
Oh,
As in New York, I've been in New York 13 years. I'm incredibly rusty, and a friend told me about like a person who specifically gives lessons to people who have a license but have lived in New York for too long. And I'm excited to like listen to lots of podcasts in the car and, you know,
That sounds like a
drive
new
through
personal essay for
cornfields.
you. Because I feel like you wrote about that with your bicycle experience as
Yeah,
oh yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I do feel a little more conflicted about driving than about bicycles. I'm like, bicycle, amazing, human powered. Cars come with a lot of baggage, literally and
They do.
figuratively.
They do. They do. How about you, Mr. Nokunsky?
I mean, it's kind of good that my book is a 2027 thing, so I feel like I could have a good fall trip with my husband, my new husband, and maybe go somewhere like we've never done a European vacation with 10 years together. We've gone there separately, but never together. So hopefully something along those lines. We always tend to do like very cozy, like beachy, like just do nothing vacations.
You need an adventure.
So kind of work on that teamwork, on that sightseeing, sharpen that skill. It can, we're both can be very lazy when it comes to that stuff, but motivate each other
It
would be
is
nice.
true that I had to remind Michael the other day. I was like, not only did you get your book picked up, but you also got married this year. You've had a big year. So
Well, then,
I keep
Jerry, I thought you said
forgetting.
there was a third thing Michael did.
yeah,
Went to
definitely
Santa
was.
Fe.
Oh
Oh, right.
right.
Is
So I'm on a short list for the Santa Fe Writers Project contest. Thank you, Amelia. And I don't obviously it's not, it's kind of I don't remember the guidelines. It's for books that haven't been published, but there are some self-published novels on there. What I liked about the contest is that it is kind of open, so it's kind of fun to be on a short list for something that you don't even doesn't even exist yet. Like it was just my manuscript. So yeah, congrats. And my
is it
friend
the same
Katya,
manuscript?
who I encouraged to submit, is on the list as well. With her wonderful novel. It's all prose, so it could be a memoir, it could be fiction. And out of like 1,700, they narrowed it down to 25 so far, and we'll get the
Whoa.
results. But regardless, it's been a nice little boost. Yeah.
Validation. We love
Validation.
validation.
Although I do agree with the David Odgme viral, if you've seen that, the viral Facebook post going around where
No.
I guess it's more geared to playwrights, but obviously, applies where it's like you can't, the whole reason we're artists is because we don't go on the list. Like we don't make the list usually. We grew up not making the list. So it shouldn't have to matter, but so it can't we're human. It's nice to be on a list, but yeah, he talked about, he wrote Stereophonic, which was won all the Tonys last year. And he talked about how, well, he's always been a success in the sense that, like, he's been writing and he's been producing and doing all these things. But now everyone's coming up to him being like, well, you're on the list now. And it's like, well, okay, but nothing really is different. So just talking about how we can't, you know, his big line was that we're cockroaches. So we survive with or without a list. Artists are
You've got to find
cockroaches.
other motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been called a cockroach before because I always seem to survive, but I don't really like that term, so I'm just going to ignore that part of it. But I do like that idea that we thrive.
And it's a
Well,
very
guys,
queer
I
idea too,
exactly.
obviously.
Well, I
Queer cockroaches.
Queer cockroaches.
I want to thank you both for joining me. This has been a lovely conversation in the middle of the day, and
The
more books.
shortest day of the year if you're in the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh yeah, we're in our solstice. Oh yeah, today
I
and
hope
tomorrow.
everyone does something witchy, light lots of candles, do a
Exactly.
spell.
There you go.
Wholesome
It's
tarot cards.
happy winter solstice, our shortest day of the year. It's going to get dark probably in 30 minutes. So at least here in New York and in Pittsburgh. I don't know about LA. Maybe LA.
Okay, in Pittsburgh, it gets dark an hour later than it does in New York because we're
Oh,
like farther west in the Eastern time zone. Another thing that Pittsburgh has going for it.
There you go. All right. Well,
in addition to very affordable housing. Anyway.
Thank you both for joining me, and I look forward to working on all these fun things in 2026. And it's been Queer Love Project's first full year on Substack, and it's been amazing. And you guys have both made it that way, so I just wanted to thank both of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for making this space. Now we all have lots of books to go read in the dark.
Exactly.
Dark solstice hours.
And all right. Well, go do that. Everyone go read. And thank you for joining us. And see you all soon.
Bye.
See you in the new year. Bye.